Can you imagine a time when Irish family meant a woman having to give up her job to stay at home and mind the children and other domestic chores while the husband or father went out to work?
The change is about saying we're taking out that sexist language.
Article 41.2, which pertains to a woman's place in the home, we want to delete that.
The language is clearly sexist.
And it also removes completely outdated language that talks about the role of a woman being in the home.
To change the outdated language within Article 42.
Sexist language.
Completely outdated language.
Clearly sexist.
The outdated language.
A woman being in the home and so on.
A woman's place in the home.
A woman being in the home.
A woman's place in the home.
Sexist language.
Clearly sexist.
A woman's place in the home. Place in the place in the place in the home. Place in the home.
Wow, it really seems like the Constitution needs to be changed, right? I mean, telling us women our place is in the home and only in the home? That's not right, is it? It's outdated, it's sexist, it's rude and offensive.
Offensive, rude!
I mean, it's wrong in so many ways. So we probably shouldn't vote to keep it in the Constitution, right?
I won't.
Yeah, let's vote it out. Oh, but wait, hang on. Wait, hang on. I'm hugely confused. If our Constitution actually says that a woman's place is in the home, then hold on, how have we had 2 female presidents? How have we had female Taoiseachs? How have we had so many female ministers and TDs and senators and councillors? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, if the Constitution says a woman's place is in the home, then surely none of these women should be in government. Especially the 2 Marys. I mean, it's the president's job to uphold and protect the Constitution, right? So how could they have been president? Surely that would be unconstitutional. You know what? I think we need more information here. Let's go back to our national broadcaster, RTE, for help.
Now, the Constitution doesn't say that a woman's place is within the home.
Oh, for sake.
How on earth can a referendum take place when blatant misinformation is being peddled like this? Not only are politicians at it, blurring the truth and constantly making reference to a woman's place or role in the home, the media are right there with them. There seems to be a push to appeal to emotion with loaded language. I mean, if a woman hears someone say her place is in the home, well, it does elicit a response, doesn't it? But if that's all your argument is based on, well, that's not great, especially since the Constitution does not say it, as RTE finally got around to telling us after the appeal to emotion with the black and white footage of the poor women folk slaving away in the home in years gone by. Even the National Women's Council of Ireland are trying to claim that the Constitution tells us that only women have duties in the home, that it says that the state should encourage women to stay at home, and that it underpin the marriage bar. This is despite the fact that the marriage bar predates our constitution, was widespread across Europe, and was removed in the 70s without us needing a referendum to do so. I suppose I shouldn't expect any less from a women's organisation that has trouble defining what a woman even is. I honestly wonder just what women the National Women's Council of Ireland are supposed to represent, because it seems to me that they have an issue with stay-at-home mothers and are hell-bent on chasing the "we can have it all" narrative, whereby you are only a successful woman if you manage to have a successful career in spite of your children. If they really cared about all women, they'd be urging a no vote, but instead they have decided to sell out women under the guise of feminism, and I say that as a feminist myself. I would say that the National Women's Council of Ireland took Roderic O'Gorman's threat to heart and are worried about their funding, but, well, I get the feeling they'd be pushing for this either way. And also, what the actual with this shit? Isn't that government interference? Isn't that dodgy as O'Gorman, incidentally, has also been caught peddling the lie that our constitution seeks to contain women to a very singular role. So what does our constitution, Bunreacht na hÉireann, actually say about women, and what are we being asked to change? Well, in Article 41.2 it says, in particular, the state recognises that by her life within the home, woman gives to the state a support without which the common good cannot be achieved. The state shall, therefore, endeavour to ensure that mothers shall not be obliged by economic necessity to engage in labour to the neglect of their duties in the home. The proposals in the upcoming referendum are to delete all of this and replace it with Article 42b, which would state the following. The state recognises that the provision of care by members of a family to one another by reason of the bonds that exist among them gives to society a support without which the common good cannot be achieved, and shall strive to support such provision. Have you ever heard such a word salad before? No, me neither. I genuinely struggle to understand how the new wording is any better. But let's focus on the current wording, the offensive and sexist wording. So the main offender seems to be that it only mentions a woman's life and duties within the home, and how very, very sexist that is. But here's my problem with this stance. It reminds me of the meme about how the internet works. Someone says they prefer mangoes to oranges, and some randomer berates them and accuses them of hating oranges. Only in this case, the oranges aren't even mentioned. In my last video, I spoke about how important language is, and here we are again. Yes, the Constitution singles out women and their duties in the home, but it does not say, not once, not anywhere, that only women have duties in the home. The National Women's Council of Ireland would have you believe otherwise, stating in their Vote Yes literature that the Constitution tells us that only women have duties in the home. This is a lie. It does not say that. Just because it doesn't mention anyone else's role in the home does not mean it says they do not exist. I am a stay-at-home mother. I have duties and a role within my home. My husband also has duties in our home. Our child has duties in our home. Hell, our cat has duties in the home, namely to be our fluffy, adorable house tiger, a duty she takes great pride in. Everyone has a role in their home. That's how life works. And a bit of common sense applied to our reading of the Constitution would go a long way to debunking obvious misinformation. And as for a woman's duties, well, it doesn't say a woman's duties now, does it? It talks of a mother's duties. And if that is sexist, then we should all just give up now. I am a mother, and my greatest duty, not just in the home but in my life, is the care of my child. I am not even remotely offended by that wording, so I'd appreciate it if the media and yes campaigners would stop telling me that I should be. Article 41.2.1 recognises the value of women in the home. Could it be construed as slightly outdated given just how few women are stay-at-home mothers these days? Sure, but I'm not someone who looks to find offence. And I'd argue that there are plenty of working mothers who'd much prefer to be stay-at-home mothers, but can't, as a 2017 survey shows. 41.2.1 does not actually promise anything or set out any obligations on the state. It merely highlights how important the work of women in the home is to our society. And at a time when even the word women has become a weapon in a culture war, well, I'm not all that bent out of shape about the wording here. What it also does is lay the groundwork for Article 41.2.2, and this is the really important part. It states that no mother should be forced into employment out of financial necessity. What that means, and this bit is critical, is that mothers have a choice enshrined in the Constitution. Last time we had a referendum, we were asked whether we wanted to give women a choice, and we resoundingly voted yes to choice. Well, here we are again, being asked to vote on whether women, and in particular mothers, will have a choice. This choice is backed up by Article 45.2.I, which states that the state shall, in particular, direct its policy towards securing that the citizens, all of whom, men and women equally, have the right to an adequate means of livelihood, may, through their occupations, find the means of making reasonable provision for their domestic needs. So our Constitution enshrines a mother's choice. What Article 41.2.2 also does is place the onus on the state to support those mothers, something which it has failed to do given the numbers of working mothers who would prefer to stay at home but can't due to finances. This has never been tested in the courts, but you'd imagine it may well get its day in court if this referendum is rejected, as more women become aware of Article 41.2's significance. The other argument for needing to change all of this is the other side of the sexist coin, and that is that it's not gender neutral. Okay, sure, but you know what? The new wording may well be gender neutral, but it is also just a big word salad that means next to nothing. One that places no actual obligations on the state to do, well, anything. They will strive to support such provision of care, but that's it. The new wording absolves the state from caring whether a care provider is forced into the workforce due to economic necessity, and it gives a wishy-washy definition of care that carers worry doesn't go anywhere near far enough. And you know what else? I don't want gender-neutral language. There, I said it. I want mothers included in the Constitution, because you know what? Mothers are bloody well important, and the current Constitution reflects that and acknowledges the work that mothers do. Work, by the way, that is constantly undervalued and ignored, and has been recently valued at around €55,000 a year. By the same token, I do understand that stay-at-home dads are ignored, and that this article should extend to carers. I am fully on board with that. But here's the thing. How about instead of making it gender neutral, we make it gender inclusive? How about we simply add, the state shall therefore endeavour to ensure that mothers, or other primary caregiver, including carers, shall not be obliged by economic necessity to engage in labour to the neglect of the duties in the home. There you go, an all-encompassing amendment that acknowledges that it is not only mothers who work in the home, it covers dads, it covers legal guardians of all types including grandparents, adoptive parents, foster parents and so on, who may take on the primary caregiver role instead of the child's mother, and it specifically highlights carers who are not just mothers. We get to keep mothers in the Constitution since 90% of stay-at-home parents are women. We extend the protection about not being obliged to work outside the home to other primary caregivers and to carers, and the government is still on the hook to actually support these caregivers. Instead, what we get is wishy-washy nonsense coupled with mountains of misinformation. We get blatant lies about what the Constitution actually says in the hopes that the overworked, overstretched and overburdened voter won't have the time to fact-check. It is absolutely disgraceful, the carry-on of certain Yes campaigners, the so-called National Women's Council of Ireland chief among them, to obfuscate the truth and try to tell us that all us women are still tied to the kitchen, that we should just accept what they say as truth and disengage our critical thinking and ignore the fact that the Constitution hasn't held back women, as how else could we have had 2 female presidents? So what do you think? What way will you vote on International Women's Day? Do you think our Constitution should keep the special mention of mothers? What do you think of the proposed wording? Should we keep Mana in the law? Let me know in the comments below. Now, I've barely scratched the surface here, so I will definitely cover this topic again before the referendum. And I haven't even mentioned the other referendum to do with the family. So make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on for more from me on this subject. Don't forget to like and share this video especially, as I really feel like we need to combat the blatant misinformation out there around this referendum. If you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee or a super thanks, which is greatly appreciated, and a huge thank you to those of you who already have. You can also follow me on Twitter. Until next time, let's keep Mana in the law. Slán go fóill.